Welcome to the Cold Fusion podcast, where we explore the latest and greatest in tech. From the newest smartphones and gadgets to the latest software and hardware developments, we'll keep you up to date on all things tech. We'll also have interviews with industry leaders and experts, as well as a discussion on the future of technology and its impact on society. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or just looking to stay informed, this podcast is for you. So join us as we dive into the exciting world of technology and see what the future holds. That obviously was written by an AI.
You sure?
Yes. Just wanted to test that out. So what do you think?
Not the worst. Definitely not the worst.
It's pretty mid, pretty generic.
Yeah, generic but cohesive.
Yeah.
Which previously AIs weren't very cohesive when you gave them directions to come up with, I guess, intros like that for a podcast. So yeah, I don't know. Like, what are the listeners thinking? Would love to know.
Yeah. Well, let's give a rating out of 10. What do you think?
Probably a 7.
7? I'd say around that. 6.5, 7. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, I just said a technology podcast. Write me an intro, kind of. So it's what else could it really do without knowing anything else about
exactly.
it? So anyway, how you been? What's been going on?
Good. End of the year. I guess things are kind of slowing down, but not for us because he didn't sleep last night.
Nope.
Trying to get a video out.
Yeah.
What you did?
So if you guys don't know, I released a video on ChatGPT, which obviously this is why this intro comes in. It was very interesting to dive into and especially get some more like deeper insights into what the CEO of OpenAI is thinking about industry, about the future, about where he sees this technology going. And I did say in the video, normally I wouldn't take what a CEO says that seriously or take it with a grain of salt. But he and OpenAI, I've been tracking them since like 2017. And just the amount of breakthroughs that they've been doing over and over and over again, they're worth listening to. So, some of those insights are very, very interesting.
Yeah. We'll definitely dive deep into that stuff. But obviously that video's out, so anybody who's listening in and don't follow Cold Fusion, do go to YouTube and check out the video. But other than that, how's your week?
Yeah, not too bad, apart from the fact that I did get COVID for the second time.
Okay.
So balancing that and trying to research was not fun. But it wasn't as bad as the first time I had it. So mainly, it was like a headache, quite a bit fatigued. But then I had this cough that was not like something I'd had before. It was kind of like I could feel it, like this. I don't know how to describe it, but this
discomfort.
Yeah, but it was like this area, deep in my like lung that needed me to cough out, but it wouldn't come. But it's just, it was a weird feeling, not very pleasant. But other than that, I'm feeling fine now, and everything's back on track. So
that's good to know.
Cannot complain. How about yourself?
It was a pretty standard week. Like I said, pretty busy for us as we, I guess, close the chapter of the year. And this podcast as well. It's been doing this for almost a year now. Started, I think, late Feb. Been on till December. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, time flies.
Yeah, and I think we have managed to do an episode every week.
More or less.
Yeah, at least uploaded every week.
Yeah, true.
I think we've uploaded every week, which was one of our main goals. We didn't look at numbers or anything. It was like we want to get the consistency up, make sure everything's, at least once. So anybody who's been listening since February, thank you so much for sticking around. It's truly an honor. Do let us know in the comment section on the YouTube channel or the YouTube video where this video is going to be up. That if you've been around for February, just say hi. We'd love to know who has been listening to us for all this time. So that's awesome. But I think as an idea of what I want to call the title of this episode is the last episode, our last episode, and basically border on a little bit of clickbait. So people coming in will be like, oh, this is their last episode. But I think they'll know that once they listen to it.
But why is it the last episode?
Of the year.
I thought like we're going to upload some stuff that we had.
For the year, this would be our last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But everything else would probably come in for the year after.
Okay, fair enough.
So do you think that would be clickbaity?
Yes.
How because remember we had discussion about ranking clickbaits. Where does this stand on that?
It's pretty high because like a lot of people do it. It's like, oh, I'm quitting YouTube, and then it's like
only for 2 months.
Yeah. So it's I'm not the not the biggest fan of it, but
yeah, and that's why I brought it up because I just want to know your stance on titles that you use in a lot of cases, because we discuss a lot of the strategies before posting or publishing a video on our YouTube channel, and sometimes there's a back and forth as to like which route do you want to go, what would attract the most people. And I think you always draw like a very fine line when it comes to clickbaits. So much so I think you're more conservative than I would say most people. Have you ever considered kind of going a little bit over on that side and be like,
well, it's like a trade-off. It's like, say you have an anger meter here from the viewers, and then you have a virality meter. It's like when you push one, the other one goes up. So I do value how people feel when they watch the content. And if I feel that they'll click on it and then not get what they're expecting, I almost can't imagine anything worse. I just, I really don't enjoy that. But I would say that, I wouldn't go as far as to ever do that, but if it is clickbaity, it's kind of a bit dramatized in the title. So it's still the same content, but it's like, a bit over the top. But sorry, I was just going to say, but then again, I don't really know if that fits my style. That's the main thing. So
yeah, I think some clickbaits are completely like just blatant lies, which obviously nobody wants to touch. But I think some of the half truths, and that's my marketing side of the brain, kind of like goes a bit on that side. Like, because like this is the last episode. I just didn't mention of the year, but it is the last episode. You know what I mean? So it's half truths, and marketing companies does that a lot. Like on packaging, on like for example, the other day I was seeing I was getting a protein bar, right? And generally protein bars or even like protein powders, they tend to give you the amount of protein in terms of grams on the labels or on the packaging, like as the way to attract people, right? And the standard grams per scoop is usually like 25 to 30 grams or so. So that would be like 25 or 30 would be written quite large, and there's going to be like a G by the side, right? So when you look at that number 25 or 30, you think, oh, that's the amount of how many grams of protein you get per amount or standard scoop amount, right? But this protein bar, which is a great protein bar that really, really like, they had something similar on the packaging, and it had the big 25. And then on the side, just as a style of instead of the grams G, they had a percentage mark on the side, like just a little bit like a percentage thing, right? Yeah. So they're basically going around, just going around this different route because when converted into grams, it's like, I don't know, 18 or 15 or something like that. Right. So they're like, oh, it's 25%. So marketing companies do this all the time, because that made me get to the door. And I guess if I hadn't looked at it, I might think, oh, okay, but then I'll still give it a shot. It's still not lying completely. So.
Yeah, I guess it's, but do you feel cheated or do you
Not
feel,
really.
Yeah.
It's, but maybe that's because, again, I tend to look at things from a marketing perspective, and I go like, oh, maybe that made me pick it up. So sometimes you actually need people to at least come to your door before they decide to walk in. And I think some of the clickbaits, what they do is they just push people through the door, like forcefully, hey, come and see this 10 lists of things, which aren't 10 lists of anything. So for me, I tend to empathize and understand that, okay, maybe, like they needed to do this just to get more numbers or sales.
A man's got to eat.
Exactly, a man's got to eat. And in my case, it was protein bars. So.
I don't know. Like, I think you can get around without clickbait.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe your audience will be slightly happier, but your growth will be slower. So.
Yeah, not 100%. Anything you watched this week?
A couple of things. So let's do that thing where there's two topics and you choose. So there was a drag race between a Ducati Ducati motorcycle, Bugatti, Tesla Plaid Model S, and a Lucid Motors Sapphire. And then the second one is a design aesthetic called Frutiger Aero, which
What color was the Bugatti is the main question.
Black and red.
No, the on a personal level, I definitely would want to know more about the second one because I love, design and art and creative stuff. But the first one obviously is quite interesting as well.
Yeah,
It's just 4 different kinds of vehicles and cars that are going on the same drag race.
Maybe
we'll talk a bit about both. We'll go both this time. It's a Christmas episode.
So, there's this YouTube channel called Haggerty, which I've been subscribed to for about a year. But the first video I saw from them, I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. Because they kind of take all the car culture, but kind of make it very interesting in a kind of sometimes documentary way and can just appeal to a lot of people. But in this one, it was kind of like a Top Gear-esque episode where they just put these cars and motorcycle in a drag strip and saw what happened. So when they did the Plaid Model S versus the Lucid Motors, well, actually, they did all three at first, and the Plaid Model S got left behind like crazy. So it was basically the Bugatti was behind at the beginning. Plaid Model S and both electric cars just took off, and then the Model S started dropping behind, and the Bugatti just overtook the Model S, but still couldn't catch up to the Sapphire model. So then they did another one where it was just the motorcycle and the Lucid Motors. And the motorcycle was, top of the range, like most powerful. And they both got off the line from the get-go. Like the Sapphire model was just gone. But the motorcycle, you could see that it was starting to, like the whole way, the front wheel was almost starting to lift. So it was like at its max. And it still couldn't catch that electric car. So I think the Lucid Motors did it in sub 2. So I think it was 1.9 seconds, 0 to 60. Wow. And it's clear now. It's untouchable. That is the fastest production car on the road that you can get.
Wow.
It was immense. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting the motorcycle, obviously, to outdo a car. But like a passenger family sedan could outrun it, which is nuts, right? Absolutely nuts.
It is. Have you driven any of these cars at all?
I've driven the Model S, and even obviously that's just ridiculous. Like it feels like I've said this quite a few times. It doesn't feel like you're driving a car anymore because the response is so instant. And like when you're in that sports mode, it's you just put your foot on the floor, and then if you're at a traffic light or something, you're already how many meters in front. You turn around, everyone's hardly started moving. So it's just
it's that different.
Yeah. It's nuts, and it's fun, addictive. Yeah. But I couldn't imagine driving something faster. Yeah, I couldn't. So there you go. I think it's just interesting that this is all starting to happen now. Like there was this limit for the longest time. The cars had to be super expensive and like unpractical. They had to be like a 1-seater thing that was just ridiculous looking to get these kinds of speeds. But now to just be able to put like a golf cart in the boot and take the kids around in a car like this is truly the future, I think.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Okay, so the Frutiger Aero, essentially it's a design aesthetic that was from maybe about 2003 to like 2010-ish. And essentially it's going to be hard for me to describe, but it's nature mixed with this kind of watery, futuristic kind of image of the future. So if you imagine Windows Vista, it's kind of exactly like that. That's quite the quintessential way of describing it.
So slow and forgettable?
Nice. Yes, but but the actual design aesthetic and, the Zune used it, but it was also in a lot of marketing and stuff. You'd see like swirly leaves and bubbles and blue like auroras and that kind of thing. I don't know if you can kind of conjure up that image, but I'd always seen that and just thought, oh, okay, it's like Y2K-esque, but it was actually an evolution of that. But it was this very specific time that all design language was kind of going towards this, and you kind of forgot about it. It was just there for a while and it was just gone. So I saw a full like walkthrough of the history of that and how it came about and everything. I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. Very different to what we have, because now everything's kind of stripped back, just the bare essentials of what you need. So you just kind of stare at things and you know exactly what's where. It's no bells and whistles. It's just very flat and functional versus what this was. So I thought it was interesting.
Do you know when it was kind of introduced? Like, is it in the early 1900s or is it recent kind of aesthetic?
That's a good question. So in terms of the video I was watching, it was mainly just throughout the computing side of things.
Right.
So yeah, it came with the software. But in terms of before that, yeah, I don't know if there's any historical ties to that. There should be, but I'm not sure what they are.
Okay, fair enough. For me,
what did you watch?
As for me, not a lot of stuff this week. But there's one thing that I didn't want to touch on was just the idea of a lot of deepfakes on TikTok, and there was a video on that recently where deepfakes is slowly kind of taking over on the mainstream side of things. And the first kind of interaction that I had was of Jordan Peterson, like a video of him completely deepfake talking about IShowSpeed, which is the Twitch streamer. And at first, like, what, is he really talking about IShowSpeed? And it felt like if I hadn't gone to the comments, because like a 25-second clip, or like a 15-second clip, right? So you watch it, you gather the information, and then if you don't do it enough, investigation, you probably just share it with someone or just bring it up in a podcast or, speak to someone else about it and be like, oh, Jordan Peterson talked about XYZ or whatever in whatever case. And apparently it's been almost like an epidemic at this stage. So I kind of first met up with, got introduced to it in maybe a few days ago, and now it's full blown. There's apparently X-rated stuff that's going up on people's TikTok feed as well, through deepfake. And there was a video that wanted to kind of go deep into like, how far will it go, because now it just seems like even these platforms are struggling to decipher between what is real and what isn't. And then just on that note, yesterday I saw a Twitter video of Morgan Freeman, like an entirely made up AI, like a CGI basically, deepfake version of him with a voice that someone else was talking. So like an audio synthesized voice of Morgan Freeman, without the additional video that shows who's doing and how they're doing it, because there's basically two videos joined together. So one of the actual result of Morgan Freeman talking, and the other one's this random white guy who's just talking about that as well. And
is it the one where he's a voice actor that changes different voices and his face also changes?
No. It was just basically Morgan Freeman. That's it. But basically it was someone else who was just speaking. Yeah. And it
transformed his voice into
exactly. That, So and then the caption of the tweet was "We're all effed," something like that. But that again goes to show how far it's basically what we spoke about maybe in the first few episodes of the podcast, and now it just seems like commonplace, right? So there was no like ultimate kind of like conclusion to that video, but it was more on the grounds of that this is happening at like very like breakneck speed and where we can go from here essentially. So I thought I'd just bring it up for you to touch on, like, are we at that stage where it's time to really, get some sort of mechanism in place to stop this or identify it at least? And if so, how do you do that?
So what I'm about to say is going to sound very strange. And my next words do not mean I support the Communist Party of China, just putting that out there. But that being said, China has recently unveiled some new laws for this exact reason. So essentially what they've said is if you are a creator of any AI-generated content, your identification has to be tied to that account. So they know who's making this content, just in case something goes wrong, they know who to pin. They're also saying that any AI-generated content has to be labeled, clearly labeled that it is AI-generated. And I think there was a third measure, but I can't remember what that was. But essentially they're just saying, like we're cracking down on this and we're going to kind of nip this in the bud. So if you do the wrong thing, you'll be prosecuted. And, as much as I don't like the heavy-handedness of some of those aspects of that law and, the ruling methods in general of the Chinese Communist Party, I think that is kind of the way to go, because it's coming out so fast in so many different directions, and it's ubiquitous. The barrier to entry is getting lower and lower. So it's just going to be chaos. And to prevent that, we're like, we have a small window of time where we can do this. But to prevent that from going crazy, we could just, regulate it to the point where there's a lot of responsibility when you release AI generated content. It sounds strange, and I usually wouldn't be for that, but I think it's the only way to do it. Like there has to be an understanding that this is a powerful tool. It shouldn't just be used willy-nilly to do anything. Then again, like you have people making it for memes, which can be funny and everything, and what happens to that whole culture if you decide to do something. But on the other hand, you could just say, well, yes, we have the hard breaks now, but then as we try and, it's just a pause button, and then as we work things out, then we'll slowly lift that up. So that's kind of the way I see it. It's not my usual train of thinking or going, but I think that's
because I know usually you're quite against this kind of I guess oversight, or not necessarily regulations, but in a way of
just a heavy hand.
Heavy hand. And I'll tie this into a few comments from related to video, which was the ChatGPT stuff. I can't find the exact comment right now, but the comment was about how there needs to be some form of regulations coming into the world of AI, because as I mentioned, that it's if anybody can create whatever they want, especially with such a powerful tool, you're gonna get propaganda, you're gonna get misguided stuff, you're gonna get X-rated stuff, which obviously will be against the consent of many people, and essentially that just seems like the route to stop it. But I don't think that's gonna be possible.
Yeah. The thing is, I think the Chinese government can do it because they know everyone's digital identification and like
they've built the entire culture like that.
It's like if you sneeze, they know. So I guess in Western cultures it may not, but I guess it might stop some. Like even if it's like 40%, that's something. But realistically speaking, it's like Pandora's box is open. Yeah. Genie's out of the bottle, and there's not much you can do but take cover and hold on. Really.
Cover. A couple of more comments on the video that I want to say. One by at Danny Mac 6368 says, "Plot twist: this entire script was written by ChatGPT."
That's. Yeah, I saw a lot of that. Like people like, are you real? So a lot of people think that I used ChatGPT to write the script. Yeah. They think that I'm not real. I'm an avatar. This whole channel is just an avatar.
Because there's another comment there from at David Balakirev 5963. Says, I'm 99% sure Cold Fusion is an AI who's been uncovering human stories for years and now finally can talk about family.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, beep boop. They are my family.
Well, why 99%? I want to know, man. Like, what was the 1% that keeps you in the confusion?
I don't know. Maybe I laughed once in the video or something.
A few other comments as well. As long as AI learns from humans, we can be confident it will be full of errors. That's from @trappedcat3615.
And I think there's some truth to that. Though Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, was saying that eventually, instead of just having collective knowledge that we've gathered through, various years of human endeavors, AI will start building its own knowledge, and a lot of people aren't prepared for that. But then, on that point, if it's building its own knowledge and some of it's faulty, then what do we do? How do we know if it's right or wrong? Like, I guess in science you can test for it and experiment, but in other things you're not so sure.
One final one as well from @Gustavo HM Alvarez 6964 saying, I'm an English teacher and I've been having the most bizarrely accurate, if a bit unsophisticated, poetry analysis conversations with this AI. This is uncanny. I haven't been able to sleep. I think one of the things that I've been seeing on TikTok as well is how a lot of people are going to use this for their essays and for their homeworks and assignments and stuff like that. And even for, I guess, scripts for, say, YouTube videos, because you could potentially run entire media companies without ever having to show your face, use your voice or anything like that, right? Because all the tools are there for people to use, and a lot of people will and are probably using it right now. Including yourself. You're entirely false, fake and AI. Jokes aside, there will be people who'll be doing that kind of stuff. So, from an academic perspective, if this was possible, or if this is the way things are going, like, do teachers or I guess education sector actually have to worry? Because previously, like, I don't know when you did your university, but we had to put it under Turnitin. What's it called?
Yeah,
Turnitin, where it would detect plagiarism and stuff like that. So if, I don't know, like 50 students are doing the same assignment using the same AI to come up with a different version of it, do you think, Turnitin would be sophisticated enough to catch that?
Well, interestingly, there was a comment of a guy that he got 90% for his exam, his test or whatever, and there was 0% plagiarism when he put it into the thing. So people may think that, hey, like it's gonna just copy off the internet, but sometimes it doesn't. So in terms of teachers being worried, I don't think they obviously don't have to be worried about their jobs, but it's just, what are the students doing?
Yeah.
Like now it's kind of like you give them this assignment and they can just go off, use this AI, and you don't really know. It's kind of a scary prospect, and it's kind of like overnight the education system just got upended. Now, like you can't trust someone who is writing an essay that they've really done it, which is a wild thing to say, but since last week, that's the reality. So I think things are going to have to change, but I have no faith that curriculums and school boards and university boards and everything will change fast enough in the wake of this. Like, at UWA, things were extremely slow. Like there's still elements of, decades old. But it's just going to be wild, and I'm not sure how you tackle it. Like in the video, I only said one statement, which is all I could know for sure, that perhaps critical thinking will be the required element in education rather than just memorizing something and spitting out an answer. So I don't know if that means people learn less. It's just it's a big topic. I'm not sure how to tackle that.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so I guess for those again who haven't watched the video, do make sure to check it out. Very much detailed, deep dive. One final question for you from that aspect, though, is from actually a comment from our previous podcast episode. Is do you think this will completely replace Google search at some point?
At this stage, no, because I think it's more of a replacement for forums directly. But a lot of people, including the CEO, has said that this will be a challenge to Google. And I can understand that. Like if you are looking for a specific answer to something, instead of browsing through, a whole bunch of different web pages and maybe some forums and some posts and everything, it could just dig it out and take it for you, which is hugely powerful. But I think Google's just so, I guess its range is so wide, and you can kind of vet by the sources that you're getting, instead of just having it generically pull out something and you're not quite sure if it's true or not. As in the AI pull out something and you're not sure if it's true or not. So at this point, I don't think it's going to replace Google, but at the rate it's going, ask me again in 2 years, and I think there could be a challenge. Yeah.
Fair enough. Other big news of the week, nuclear fusion. Very exciting news for a lot of reasons. I'm not the biggest expert in this field. You're probably more along that line than me. Right, for sure. Right, yeah. But if you were to explain it, and I'm going to just handball it to you because I'm not going to be the one who's going to get drilled by physicists in the comment section.
The thing is, like, I really, I began the research for this, and then I thought, hey, look, ChatGPT, that's gonna take the.
Because you were planning to make a video on this.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the next video. So, I'm not 100% versed in this. I haven't delved into it deeply, but essentially, fusion is like the opposite of
fission.
Fission. So instead of pulling atoms apart and creating energy that way, you force atoms together and they combine into a bigger, heavier element, and that releases the energy. And essentially, the advantages to that is there's no waste, there's no like carbon emissions or anything, and there's no radioactive waste either, which is a big one. So I think this method of producing energy was first proposed when, the Manhattan Project with World War II and the atomic bomb, when they were looking at how to get that going, they realized, hey, you could do this the opposite way and create energy. But the thing is, how do you harness that energy? How do you control it? And I guess the way that it's done requires a lot of capital. It's very expensive to do. So I think there's two main methods. There's like a magnetic method, which I think is the majority. That's what I think there's a place in France that's building a huge plant, which I think should be completed in the next 10 years or something.
2040 or something.
Not sure.
Yeah.
And then I think that's the main overarching method, which is what I've been hearing about. But then these guys in California recently, I think it was earlier this week or last week, they successfully created the nuclear fusion process with a net gain energy. So that is, they fired a whole bunch of lasers at some fuel, and in that fuel there was some particles like heavy water, which I think is deuterium, which is has an extra something. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah. Anyway, so essentially, so they got that fusion happening and created some energy, and the energy was more than what they put in. But there's a caveat. So it turns out that yes, there was some energy created. I think it was like a ratio of 50% more, but unfortunately, the actual power that the laser took from the beginning was more than, like, I think it needs to go up by a factor of 100, the energy that they created to make this viable. And that's the main issue at the moment. So this is the first time in history, first time on Earth. It's big, huge news, creating like basically a mini sun on Earth. It's never been done before. It has huge implications, but right now it's just getting that energy output higher, getting it more efficient and making it scalable. But of what I was reading, there's some quite, a lot of potential for big gains for very easy stuff. So like, for example, the laser that they were using was 1980s technology. So, they can have a laser that's 1,000 times more efficient now if they just upgraded the laser. So that's like one area for a lot of gain. And then, also optimizing how they hit the fuel and all this other stuff. So it's a long way off, but there's still room to be hopeful for it.
So I think there's just two aspects to the story. One is the actual scientific breakthrough itself in pure technical terms, and the other is the potential this achievement has in terms of bringing renewable energy or just energy that's clean, essentially, that can be scaled in the future. So I think the first aspect, obviously, is where a lot of scientists were excited because, as you mentioned, it's the first time this has been done on Earth and essentially creating the sun on Earth. And then now the other aspect of it is how can we take this, scale it, bring it to the mass, and be able to harness this energy and make sure that we get the cleanest form, which again, obviously, we'll be able to tackle a lot of the climate change issues, as well as hopefully making things cheaper, and like all the positive things that you can think about, utopia essentially in a lot of ways. So I think from that aspect, it's very, very exciting. But like you said, right now there's the amount of stuff that's needed to even get to the point of the first case of nuclear fusion was still a long way to go for it to become anything that's viable. So
do you know what I'm hoping? And this kind of ties into the last story, is that AI comes in and it's like, no, this is like, looks at the problem, it's like, this is how you do it. And then scientists kind of follow that and it just takes off. It sounds funny, but I think we've seen time and time again in more particular scientific experiments that sometimes AI can actually help. So it will be interesting in just seeing how this happens.
Yeah, or it could just take up all the power and then just becomes this huge like overlord AI with the power of nuclear fusion. It's like it takes over the entire world. It's like I can already imagine like the scene from a movie where it's just gaining all the energy, just going into like all the light and stuff. So I totally picture it. This big, pure super villain.
Too many movies, mate.
Too many movies or too little, because I don't know. It's probably something that I watched in Captain Planet when I was a kid.
True.
And the entire piece of it all will be solved by, there's going to be one person controlling that thing. It's going to be Elon Musk. Has to be at the top of that.
That was his grand plan.
The grand
all
plan.
along.
Because he owns OpenAI, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't.
I mean, he's owned, but he
co-founded
it. That's right.
Yeah, which is interesting. That's another thing he had his foot in.
Nobody talks about that enough.
Yeah, but the thing about it though is he's quite angry at the direction that the company went. And but I think in this sense he has every right to be, because OpenAI was supposed to not be sold off to anyone, nothing for profit. It was just supposed to be, hey, look, this artificial general intelligence is going to come. we're going to be the first to do it to make sure it's benevolent. We know what it's doing. We know how it works, and like we can make sure it's safely rolled out for no profit. But then Microsoft comes and swoops in. Now they're selling DALL-E, and it's like it's like a totally for profit thing. So he's very mad at the direction that went, and I think that's fair. Like it would be cool if OpenAI just gave out all their stuff for free, and took a little or maybe you pay for it, but it's not like a big company like Microsoft can swoop in and like just corner off that section of the market. Because I don't know if I told you, but DALL-E 2 is getting integrated into Windows. So it's
I mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that's huge, but like no other company can compete now. It's just like they got that. Like to build an AI from scratch that can do that is very hard. So anyway, that's just a side point.
It is. Moving on to the other story of the week is that TikTok is likely getting banned in the United States, which could have major implications as to how social media is being used in that country. So the U.S. Senate passed legislation this week to ban TikTok from all U.S. government devices to limit perceived information security risks stemming from the social media app. And the thing is, the vote by unanimous consent, which is very rare for the country. The move marks lawmakers' latest step against the short-form video app that has become popular with over 1 billion users worldwide. US officials fear that TikTok's user data could end up in the hands of the Chinese government due to the country's influence over TikTok's parent ByteDance. But they're also taking a step further because the Republican Senator Marco Rubio has announced the bipartisan legislation to ban TikTok entirely, not just from U.S. government-held devices. So there is a chance that over the next year to 3 or 4 years, you could see this, slowly gain more traction because, it's TikTok has always kind of denied and downplayed, at least in their official statements, that they don't have a lot to do with gathering data, especially in the U.S. But there's been more.
Sorry, I'll let you continue. But I just remember that iPhone update that happened where it showed when like a app was like copying and pasting or taking some form of data, but then like when people use TikTok, it was just like constantly going on. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah.
No, but I think there's been more than one instances where this has been, has come to the limelight about TikTok taking in data, and obviously with its ties to China. Naturally, some of the U.S. politicians are quite, concerned. So how do you see that being played out? Obviously, this is more from a political angle, but then the implications of it, because TikTok's really taken the world by storm, especially in the U.S. It's changed the way we consume content, short form. YouTube Shorts is a thing. So there's a chance that YouTube Shorts could now just be like, this is the best way to go. We're going to start ramping up our services. So how do you see this play out?
I think it makes sense if you look at the trend between the United States and China geopolitically, because I think it all started with Huawei. I think this was 2018 or 2019. And then they've kind of been trying to separate themselves. And then now America's trying to take their chips back onshore just in case anything happens to TSMC, the Taiwanese company that makes all our chips essentially. So it seems like they're trying to, geopolitically and economically separate from China, and tech is a big part of that. And I think this is just the next step in that process. So when you actually look at it and say, okay, so if America turned around tomorrow and said, hey, we're banning TikTok, a lot of people will be outraged, but it's like not a major voting block. It's just like kids. So it's like, well, not kids. So, okay, I should say it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. It's not like they're banning some essential item from society. It is a social media app. Obviously, it has some great value to a lot of people, but I think when you weigh it up against the potential geopolitical risk, it's quite large. But I don't know what the legal implications of doing that are, how you go about it, but it seems like they're moving, and I wouldn't be surprised in 1 or 2 years if TikTok is kind of axed from the United States. I don't see any evidence that this is slowing down, because I think Donald Trump proposed it and then everyone said because it's Trump, doesn't mean anything. But then people, when Trump went away and then people kind of reconsidered the idea, like now it's just growing and growing among the political class, and the United States that, this is a threat to national security, essentially. Yeah.
You mean Trump, the guy who just dropped an NFT collection?
Yeah, some of the finest NFTs the world has ever seen. That was a blast.
You sound like Trump.
The best. The finest China.
It's usually pretty good.
But just on the topic of TikTok, though, I came across this one tweet. So I'm going to ask you this little game.
Yeah.
You guess how much this person earned for 7.5 million views on TikTok.
$300.
Less.
Oh, damn. 150?
Less.
$75.
Less.
What? $23?
Less.
No way.
No, I'm not joking.
Bloody hell, 54 cents.
Nah. So $3.95. And, that in itself, apart from the US government on this side, this creator economy side for TikTok, I see as kind of like another reason why it may not last forever, because obviously people create content and then when they blow up, it's good for exposure if you're a musician or whatever. But then after that, if you're going to be sustained, apart from going down the sponsorship route, if you're just going to stay on TikTok and you want to grow there and make that your home platform, you don't earn any, zero money basically from it. So that's going to be hard to sustain in the long run, I think. So it's just another point.
Yeah, and I guess this is where, again, YouTube has always been, at the forefront of the creator economy. And you keep thinking they are there because of the way they treat their creators. And same with, probably not the same, but at least, Twitch and Facebook and Instagram, they've considered, well, Twitch does pay their creators, but Facebook and Instagram have considered paying, their Reels creators and stuff like that. And it just seems like the route that TikTok's taking, unless I think if they do change that up, they could potentially actually have more of a stronghold because the creators would be the ones who are saying, we need this kind of thing. But I think 100% spot on there. I think it's not looking good.
That's rough, man.
7.5 million, $3 something.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of like, you're always used to seeing those big numbers. You mean, that's a big payout. You're used to thinking that, but
then again, it's not enough to make TikTok money either, because they don't have integrated ads, for example, within the video itself. Mm-hmm. So I think inherently any short form content, for 7.5 million views, even if YouTube Shorts decides to, start paying creators for 7.5 million views, obviously I don't think it's going to be that low, like $3 whatever dollars, but it's not going to be significant enough for people to just latch onto being Shorts creator forever. Yeah,
I think that's the way it's, and I think just the innate nature of short form content has always been hard to monetize. If you remember Vine, they were really struggling with that. How do we actually do this? I think it's a little better now. People are more experienced, but I think just that, you're always switching between videos and to have ads in between that, I think it's hard. So I don't know what they're going to do to figure that out.
Yeah. Do you think, so where's BeReal now? Have you been?
I haven't checked up on it since. I think I've been seeing it around.
Yeah.
And I saw a person on it last week just in the street. So that says something, but I haven't checked how it's going since its huge boost.
I think it's kind of steady from what I last heard about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but actually I did hear something that they haven't changed anything. They haven't added any new features. So I think it might be going down the path. I think I gave 3 scenarios in the video I did about it. And one of them was they don't do anything and everyone gets bored. I think it's starting to go to that.
Yeah, because I think still getting new customer acquisitions still, because it's still kind of novel for a lot of people. But the reason why I bring it up is do you what would be the next big social media app, if any?
One powered by ChatGPT. No, I'll stop. Look, I don't know.
Maybe ask ChatGPT what's the next social media.
Oh yeah. Hey, this is live. Get ready for some crazy stuff. All right.
Dagogo was tapping.
Error. No. It is thinking about this one. Wonder if this.
So what did you ask specifically?
What is the next big social media? All right. It is difficult to predict exactly what the next big social media platform will be, as the current market is constantly evolving and new platforms are constantly emerging. Some current trends in social media include use of social media for e-commerce and the rise of social media platforms focused on specific niches and interests. In addition, there has been a trend towards this is interesting. In addition, there has been a trend towards more private and exclusive social media platforms. What's a private social media platform?
Probably Snapchat.
Right, okay.
OnlyFans, maybe.
True. As well as the integration of social media functionality into other apps and websites. It's worth noting, okay. It's possible that the next big social media platform could be one that combines elements of existing platforms with new and innovative features, that's quite generic, or that addresses a specific need or demand in the market that is not currently being met by existing platforms. It just says it's hard to say.
Generic, yeah.
So it doesn't really know, but that private social media platform aspect is interesting.
Yeah, I think niching down on a certain aspect probably would be that route, but
that inherently reduces the size. I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So on a mass level, it's not going to be really social media stuff. Yeah. It's going to be like, okay, like I don't know, like politically, a lot of people are very they anchor to certain ideals. So I know what was it, Daily Wire? They were looking to coming up with their own thing. Obviously, you'd have liberals could do something else. So from those angles, you could potentially have certain platforms. I remember I was actually this week I was watching. I should have brought this up in what I watched this week, but I was watching the CoffeeZilla interview by Lex Friedman.
Okay, haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, some really interesting stuff. CoffeeZilla covers a lot of stuff, but obviously Lex Friedman is a brilliant interviewer. And one of the thing was about London Real. Do you know about London Real?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, Coffee in London, like the guy from, what's his name?
Brian Rose?
I think that's his name. Yeah, Brian Rose. Like they had this big turf war kind of thing. I was watching that. It's so funny, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, like that. One of the things he mentioned in that part of the video was how Brian Rose tried to raise money for, again, like an alternative media company or alternative social media company where he can post whatever he wants for free and everything. And a lot of people were, donating that money or just giving that money thinking that he was going to compete against Google and Facebook and stuff, but it's essentially a white label forum style website which just hosts videos kind of thing, and mostly their videos. So again, like I bring that up because I think they raised close to a few $1 million, which is a great feat in itself, right? But the people were giving the money with the hope that they're going to get something that's very catered to them. So even though that's very niche, I think those little pockets could open up. But like you said, those are like, it won't be at a mass level. So yeah, I'd have to say something that still has an e-commerce angle to it. So that would be the next big thing.
I'm just asking it something. Give me some ideas for a new social media platform, just to see if it's anything we haven't thought of here. If there's something for discussion. Right. So a platform for creators and artists to showcase and sell their work with features for collaboration and feedback. Yep. Another one that connects people with similar hobbies and interests, features organizing events and activities. Another one is a small business, a platform for small business owners to network and build professional connections. That's kind of like LinkedIn. Another one a private one for friends and family. Another one for environmental causes, fundraising and activism. Another one for travel experiences, reviews, recommendations, and trip planning.
And TripAdvisor kind of does that.
Yeah, but I guess it's not a social media. And another one for current news, current events, with features like fact checking and moderation. That's kind of Twitter-ish, but yeah, interesting. Okay, that's
not bad ideas. I think definitely some of them you could scale at a large degree. The one, obviously, I'm quite invested in the world of creators and stuff. So the first one was pretty cool to see. One idea that I also kind of mentioned to you in the past was the Tinder style matching of creators finding other creators.
Yeah.
Something like that, I think, could be pretty cool. So if anybody's listening in, feel free to take this idea and build it up. I don't mind.
Using a ChatGPT to code.
Yeah, but essentially the idea of it that I thought was, as creators, we struggle to find other creators with the same kind of mentality and personality. So obviously you can put up a job ad and say that, we want editors, or we want, script writers, or we want, graphic designers. And people would just have their own portfolio and they'll submit, and then you have to sift through all that stuff, talk to them and stuff. But imagine if there was like a Tinder style profile building algorithm that just simply connects you, like a creator who's looking for other creators to work with, and obviously creators who are looking for work themselves, and it just simply looks up their profiled algorithm, does the job, and makes the connection.
I think that's the key point, because there's a lot of websites where you have like
listicles.
Well, not
listicles, but yeah.
It matches people who need something with people who are looking for a job or whatever, and puts them together. But having an algorithm that smartly matches, like I don't know how it does that, whether you write a description, it reads that and understands what you're exactly looking for, and it just matches better than anything else. I think that could be quite powerful.
Yeah, because for example, say Cold Fusion requires a video editor, right? Now, somebody who does, Mr. Beast style videos obviously will know how to do Cold Fusion style stuff, but not necessarily the perfect fit for it, because it's totally different kinds of content, different editing style, yada, yada. Whereas some editor who's, has watched 10 years of Cold Fusion, knows everything in and out, watches similar kind of stuff, and then their profile reflects that. And when you're looking for an editor who does meet those criteria, it just simply matches the two, and that's the perfect fit, or at least one of the many perfect fits, right? Something like that, I think, because the world of creator economy is just blowing up essentially, and I think that could be pretty powerful.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know who's listening in, but any investor wants to talk, let's sit down.
They're just going to take the idea and run, I think.
Well, look, see, with these kind of things, I don't mind. I don't need to get the credit. As long as it's actually out there and helps creators, I don't mind. So
yeah, that's very noble of you.
The next one, potentially the last one for the day, is the fact that Fortnite is getting sued. So while playing Fortnite around January 2019, a boy's body grew warm as he struggled to breathe and formulate thoughts, according to a new lawsuit. His guardian claims the boy, who's now 17, was experiencing his first panic attack, feeling pressure from the popular video game. After the boy suffered another panic attack 8 months later, his guardian claims he was diagnosed with cyber addiction and began meeting with a counselor at a rehab center. The allegations are part of a lawsuit brought by the Canadian parents, by 3 Canadian parents against Epic Games, who are the developer of Fortnite. And the parents argue that the game is addictive and has upended their children's lives. The lawsuit, which was filed in 2019, was finally authorized by Quebec City judge last week. The parents who filed the lawsuit also said that the children is, in some cases, stopped eating, showering, or socializing because of their obsession with the game. The plaintiffs also argued that the children are not mature enough to understand its terms of services. So Fortnite has created, through its marketing, a vicious cycle in which children must buy to feel accomplished and accepted by their peers, thereby taking advantage of their vulnerable position, which the lawsuit states.
Right. Yes, I don't know. It's interesting because just the extent that these children are, the state that these children are ending up in, but it was a long road to get there. Like, if you're a parent, you'd be witnessing this child playing for hours on end. Can't you just say stop? Like, that's enough, Billy.
That's literally your job as a parent.
Yeah. So to go and turn around and blame the game creators is a bit strange. Obviously, they're going to make the game enjoyable for people to play, but it's up to, like, when your brain is underdeveloped, it doesn't have that sense to say, okay, now that's enough, and self-regulation. So the parent's supposed to step in and say, okay, Billy, it's time to do something else. Yeah. But I think, I don't know, it's just strange. I think it's just a failure on the parent's part.
I mean, obviously, it's not easy parenting in general. Parenting is hard, obviously. but overall, I agree to some extent that there has to be some personal responsibility at some extent, especially if it's a kid who's under 18. It's not like the first minute they play, they get addicted and start developing panic attacks and stuff, it's probably like some the 8th, 9th, or 10th hour with little sleep and stuff. And obviously it does put pressure on their parents, like to meet societal expectations that their kids are part of, right? That little Billy wants this because I don't know, John over there who has that. But that has been the case for everything, like forever, right? Even before the games, like somebody else has the latest toy, you also want the latest toy. So, and it's not just kids, right? It's entirely of what society is built upon, and I guess being exploited on in some cases by companies. So, I agree that shouldn't be the case in a lot of ways, but personal responsibility also has to come in to an extent.
Yeah. So like, there's other aspects. So say like there was a bunch of loot boxes or something in there where kids were getting parents like credit cards and weren't realizing how much they were spending, and it causes a whole kerfuffle. I can understand that because it's like, hidden in the game. But this just seems to be that they have a physical body that you can remove from the scene of playing this game. It's not impossible. It's not like, oh, woe is me, like there's nothing I can do, like his eyeballs like attached to the screen, I can't get him off. It's literally just, you have to tell your child that's enough. So yeah, like obviously this isn't my field of expertise in parenting, but I just feel that's
I think this is less of a case than stories where I've heard Japanese gamers, for example, pass out in the middle of cyber cafes while they're gaming for like 17, 18 hours or something like that. I think
there was one guy that died.
A few years ago as well. And that was in Japan as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like that has more of a case because, these are adults and these are built in a way, I guess, that it's kind of really keeping their entire livelihood or their entire real life attention stuck to a TV screen. But again, obviously some form of personal responsibility also comes in. So I think there's a bit of both. But also at the same time, however you regulate, I don't know, other addictive things in the world, like alcohol, for example, is highly addictive. But at the same time, like if you go to a bar or a liquor store drunk, they're not going to serve you, right? So there are some regulations in place. So stuff like that will probably have to come into the digital world to an extent. Where,
and then you have the China model, which is where they had that blackout or whatever, like between certain hours.
I've heard about the I think it was a social media that turns off after 11 p.m. and then opens it almost like a store or something.
Yeah, you could have that, but I think that's obviously heavy-handed. But I think it's just a matter of people figuring out what these things really are. Like if it is addictive to your son or daughter or whatever, that you have to keep a close eye on them and just talk to them and discuss it with them so they understand that it's not good to, as fun as it may be, it may not be the best thing to just sit there for hours on end and just play all day. So,
right. So that's it. That's the last episode of 2022.
Yep. That is it for 2022. So I'll see you next year. And hopefully there's some more AI breakthroughs that we can discuss. Maybe I'll be a robot. Who knows? But thanks for sticking through for the whole year. If you did, and if you just joined us, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. And we'll catch you again soon for the next one. Cheers.